Okay, good morning, folks. What I want to do today is a very quick review of one of my students' games. My student here, Ed, was playing in the first round of a friendly online tournament that we run as part of the 10 Minutes to Go learning group. And I invited some other players into it, and Ed, who's probably somewhere between 30 and 25 Q, he got ambushed by a stronger player. And it was a bit unfair on Ed, but he took it well and played to the best of his ability. But I just want to run through the game, partly just to explain to Ed and to other people looking at this review where the good moves were made, where the opportunities were. But ultimately, he was bullied and kicked around by a stronger player. And actually, if we've got a stronger player on our back, without handicap stones in place, it's unlikely that we're going to win. But as we all know, regardless of our rank, regardless of our go ability, we only ever win and lose 50% of our games, because there are effectively an infinite number of go players who are stronger than you and an infinite number of go players who are weaker than you. So if you win and lose 50%, then you're absolutely on the money go player, because that's what we expect. Because as we get stronger, then the game puts stronger opponents back on us. As we get a stone stronger against a regular opponent, then that opponent's also getting stronger. Or if we play a lot online, as our rank goes up, then the server will throw stronger players at us, players who are within our rank. And it's a fool as a Go player who goes around looking for a weaker player that they can just bully and beat up. You go, what's the point of that, and where's the learning? There actually is none. Anyway, speech over. I'm going to run through this game. Ed was black, his opponent was white. The game ends with white crushing and overwhelming black, but I just want to go through the moves so that we can see how they were. So black opens in the 4-4 corner in the top left, great move. White takes a cockamoo in the lower right, 3-4 point lower right, and black takes a 4-4 lower left, all normal stuff. And white takes another 3-4 point in the top right. Black approaches. This is just for Ed and other people's benefit. It's not wrong, that approach, but at your level, Ed, I would expect the high approach here, and then to see this kind of Joseki developing there. This is the attached drawback Joseki. It's one that we've been through as a group on class, and that's what I would expect to see. So when you approached from here, you were one stone actually too low, and this gave white some opportunities. So white jumps away and makes a big shape, and you slide into the corner. Slide into the corner is good. Generally we do this slide when we're approaching 4-4, not a 3-4. It's not impossible against the 3-4, but it's a bit unusual because that stone now at R2 is a little bit cramped. It doesn't really have, it's right down on the second line, and it doesn't have any real room for maneuver. So white just ignores and jumps away. Now the thing to be aware of as black here is that you have 2 points that we call miai, and by that we mean that black has this point here to extend and make a base, or it has this point here to make a living shape in that corner. So if white takes S3, takes 2, black can jump to 1, M3, and vice versa. If white approaches to M3, number 1, then black can go to 2. They're called miai. It means there are 2 options, 2 ways. And so you just, when you put yourself in that position, you need to be aware of that. That you have 2 options, but if white takes one of them, you must take the other. Otherwise your stones will come under very severe attack indeed. So this is the move that's just been played here, is a very standard. This stone here, that's mark stone, is a knight move approach to a 4-4 stone, and black has 2 options here. Option 1 for black would be to do a knight move away and make a base in that direction for the stones, or the other alternative is to pincer. And if black pincers white, and in this case, because of the presence of these 2 stones, the pincer might work. Let's just look at it. Black pincers, white dives in, black blocks, white extends, black extends, white Hane, black Hane, white protects, black protects, white jumps, and then black does something like this. And how you can see now how black has built a territory on the lower side. As an alternative to 11, black, if you're feeling scared, you might want to sit on top of that stone and stop it, but then that gives white plenty of space to come into this area here or here, any one of these kind of moves. So I think more urgent than sitting on top of the stone here is for black after this Joseki to play something like this to ensure that that territory belongs to black. Okay, so those were the options. Let's go back. After this approach, those were the options. What Ed did was slightly a wide jump, not terrible, but slightly wide, and so white made a base. Now the two black stones on the right hand side that we've already spoken about, these two are now starting to become under attack. And those two Mii points, again, that we referenced earlier, number 1 and number 2, it's becoming more urgent that black plays one of those. So black approaches the top right hand corner. Again, I'm not gonna make a big fuss about that move, but when you approach the 3-4, the normal approach for black, and this circumstance, would be approach high. It is possible to approach from the left hand side, but I would expect to see something much more like this, further out and on the same line. The stone that got played in the game, this one is a little bit floating because white can move underneath it, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So white just comes out and makes some territory, and then black plays this move. It's leaving the space behind the black stones very open around the K line, K16, J16. These kind of points are very open to an attack by white. And the black stone at P18 doesn't really do anything. It doesn't threaten white in a way that white needs to respond. But white does respond. It comes down and blocks the points in the corner. And so black makes that space. This is good play, Ed. I mean, I like that. I think the P18 stone was a bit over ambitious, but you've made a base for your stones. This pair of this out on the 4th line, so I can't knock that. I think it's a great move. Exactly what you should be trying to do at this level of your go. So white attaches and invades the corner. Again, corner invasions are notoriously difficult to deal with when you're a beginner. You're not sure what to do. You don't know what the Josekis are. But generally, I would say to my students, block the corner. Play here, deny your opponent the corner, because the corner is the easiest space to live in, and it's much harder to make life out on the edge because you can lose your base very quickly. So I generally say block the corner. If you're not sure what to do, block the corner. In this case, Ed took the outside, white moved into the corner, black blocked. All of these moves are good, Ed. I think you're this sort of good direction of play. White Hanes, and now this is really quite an important sequence for black, because black has 2 options, and these 2 options for black are either 1 or 2, and they lead to quite different outcomes. So let's take them in turn. So if black plays 1, white can cut and Atari the black stone at C15, so black protects. White jumps down on this stone, which is now doomed. It cannot escape because it's Atari'd on the 2nd line. But black counter Ataris white. White takes the stone, and then black moves down here to take out the 2 stones. These 2 stones here. So what's the outcome? What's the exchange? And white generally, to complete this Joseki, would push up here. What's the outcome? Well, actually, given the shape of the stones, this means that black has actually started to build, because the 2 white stones are prisoners, a reasonable territory here, and white's got some outside influence, but that influence is really limited because of the presence of this stone. And so that choice of Joseki, in this case, would be quite good for black. What's the other Joseki? Again, at this point, and this is what played out in the game, black extends, white extends. Black must extend one more time. and the one more time is at that point there to protect the cutting point that exists at d15. But in this case, black jumped and made a knight move, which doesn't contain white. It means that white can get out in this area. There's too much of a gap, and this stone here is too weak. So that was a mistake. It's a mistake in the Joseki, and actually this move is here. White will push one more time, and then black can either make shape or attack here or play elsewhere, or indeed jump here. All of those would be viable at this point, at this stage of the game. But the move you played is not going for the third space, and this is a very simple reason here. If we go 1 like this and white cuts, the cut doesn't work because black ataris, white extends, and then black catches white in a net here. So if white pushes, black blocks, white pushes, black kills, and that is reliant on these 3 stones in a row to prevent white cutting and getting out. Okay, let's go back to the game. So in this case, back in the game, black jumped. So white haned, and now the answer, the solution here for black should be really straightforward. At this point, when you see this move in the corner, it's vital that you block, threatening the Atari, white connects, you fix the shape, and the Joseki's over. What's the exchange here? Well, the exchange is normally that white gets 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 points in the corner, but black gets the outside influence. And in this case, this influence would be very useful because of the existence of the stones here over on the right hand side. Looks like turning that whole centre area of the top about 30 points into territory for black. And so here we'd say the exchange would be 10 for white here, maybe 25, 30 for white here, but 30 for black. It's a fair exchange. And what we're looking for in Go is fair exchanges. However, when white haned here, black turned and made the first of a number of bad shapes that we call the empty triangle. When we turn like this, we create this shape. And this shape of 3 stones is known as the empty triangle. It's generally 95, 96, 97, 99% of the time it is bad shape and needs to be avoided. It's very tempting, but it does need to be eliminated from your Go vocabulary early. When you get to a 2, 3, 4 down player, then there are cases when you will play the empty triangle, but as a Q player, just purge it. Every time you get the desire to play an empty triangle, please don't find another move, and there are plenty of other moves. But in this case, the absolute move, the urgent move, was the Hane. Okay, so Ed played an empty triangle, which meant that white could push on again. And then again, black, Ed in this case, black tried this jump move, this knight's move, but it just doesn't work because white comes out and black blocks, and then white comes up. And white can now go in one of 2 directions. White can come in this direction, and it can come out in this direction because of the threatened Atari. So Ed makes this move which doesn't really help anything. It doesn't put any pressure on white. So white comes up, black comes up, and notice that that's another empty triangle. These 3 stones have formed another empty triangle based on those stones. So not a great move, not a great shape move. You know, when white does this, actually probably the move for black was to either protect the cutting point here or press down here. Though this move is uncomfortable, but I'm not going to go into the detail on that one. Okay, let's keep going. So white ataris the stone, kills it, which means all of the white stones are now unconditionally alive, and white has broken out of the corner. Black ataris, white simply connects, and then black changes his mind and says, I don't know what to do over there anymore, which is very common when we're a double digit Q. I don't know what to do, I'll play somewhere else, I'll play away. I think the play away was okay, but it wasn't quite the right play, because we've still got this little problem in the corner, and this stone here is now not quite connected to the new stone at G4. So white dives into the corner and simply ignores the black stone. Black wedges in between. Again, I would have expected to see black deny white the corner by the Hane here. I would expect that as a normal move, because notice white can't double Hane because we get Atari. And this is similar to what actually happened in the game. So first black wedges, and then white simply Ataris. So black descends and white connects. And now black's only hope is to kill the white stone in the corner and to give up this stone here that's now jammed against white's wall. So black turns once, not a bad move, because the black stones on the lower edge have now got 4 liberties, and so white has to do something about them, and white does come out, but black now with some urgency needs to knock this stone out of play before it becomes active again by moving out to c3, which he does. Great move, Ed. I absolutely can't fault it. It's a great move, exactly the right direction, understanding exactly what was going on the go board, where you needed to play. White Ataris, and this is one of the cases where the answer is not to take. The black move in this case was to connect, because this white stone here cannot escape. It's in Atari, and it means that black has got much better shape, because if white persists and pushes, black can do this, and if white Hanes, black could make shape, and then white's got this cutting point is one option. Or if white comes down, black cuts here first. And if white Atari is this way, that involves a ladder, which isn't good for what, that's not good for white. So if white comes this way, then black here. And now notice that white can't do this, because black gets that Atari, white takes, and black descends and takes the stone, and so black gets all of the corner. I don't want to go through that with too much detail, but that's the kind of sequence that we were talking about there. So let's go back to where we were. Let's go back on the main line. So in the game, black took. The problem with the take is you give your opponent free stuff. White immediately gets an Atari, and if you fill, you get terrible shape, and white gets a good outside. So what happened in the game? White just came down. Black attached underneath, which I thought was a good move. You're prepared to give up the stone on d4. White pushed in, threatening to take the stone on d4, but you quite correctly ignored that and connected out and under, because it now means you've got a connection between this stone, these two stones, and the corner. So all of the black stones on that side of the board are connected, and this stone, the d4 stone, is simply not an important stone. You can give it up easily, and you do, and that's a great move. And then white comes out. And now black probably needs some kind of defensive move around this area, or pushing out a little bit higher into this area, this kind of move or this kind of move. There's no urgency here in the lower right hand corner because of the Miai. The Miai is still intact, this one and this one, but that's what's going on. Okay, so you make the shape, and again, Ed, I have to say, great move, really good reading of the game. That extension there prevents white developing any more territory in this area, because black is solid in the corner, and it settles this group nicely. So white attaches. Now the move for black is come up, and what you do is you come down. The reason for the come up at this point is, after this one, if we come up, we're moving to the outside. If white harness, you block, white connects, black can't cut, white can't cut here, and then you can start to jump out and get access to the outside. Don't get trapped against the edge as much as possible. So you come down, which the problem with the come down here is that white gets this beautiful move on top, making a tiger mouth shape on top of your stones, and really squashing you down flat. That's why we don't do that in this case. So you came down, horrible. This is yet another empty triangle. This move is just bad. and needs to be purged from your Go vocabulary. I'm gonna look for a sound to mark that when I do the when I finalize the video. So when white does that, and what is the black move here? The black move is something like this jump, or possibly dive into the corner like that, and now you're unconditionally alive. It's a bit small in the corner. I think the jump is better, but that's the other option. The stone that you played here is generally horrible. It's an empty triangle. So white stops you jumping in on the other side, and you make this shape move. It's okay. You now need to protect that stone, so I would expect you to play at R3 here. What happens? You cut, which is a bit over ambitious because your stone is now under attack. So white Atari is on this side. You have to give that stone up and not try and run with it, otherwise white will take the corner. So I'd expect Q2, but you connect there, white connects, you connect, so you're pretty much alive. You're alive there. And white has to take that stone out of commission, because if that stone didn't move, if you didn't take that stone, it would become a threat to the three stones. The R4, 3 and Q3 stones of white would be under attack. So you then persist the attack, and this doesn't work. The only move that would work here would be to play here and put the Atari there and gain an extra bit of space in the corner. But it's small stuff when there are bigger moves in this kind of area of the board that's still open. Okay, so you Atari there, Atari the three stones, but white just descends and Atari's both of your stones are in Atari now, so they're all dead. You come out this way. This is very optimistic. White comes that way. You can now turn. You can now turn at Q6, but you push once into the corner, which I can't knock, and now you turn. That's excellent. And white gives up the stone. And again here, the key move for black is the extension. It's the extension move that knocks the white stone out of play, because it's got nowhere to go now. And I think what happened in the game is that you took, yes you did, but that leaves a shape behind that white then exploits, which is white then hits the corner of your stones, and so they're an Atari across that diagonal. And if you don't see that, and as a 25Q, 30Q player you're not going to see that all the time, then you connect, and you now got what we call a dumpling shape. It's just a lumpy shape. Black is still alive. Black has got two eyes in this area here. Black still can make an eye here and an eye here, but there's a lot of stones invested in that area for not a lot of points. So white makes a shape, and notice how white is attacking to build this area and the points in this area. And so you push. This is no longer an important area of the board. This is played out, and so this is a slack move. It doesn't do any work. Will white answer? White doesn't have to answer there. White does answer, and that's fair enough. And so you come out in this direction. I think again, I think your sense of direction is good. This is the vital area of the board, but I think you needed to be a bit bolder with this move and actually come right the way in and break into white's territory. Because the balance of points now is that you've got a good corner here, 10 points. You've got another 10-point corner here. There's about 30-point potential on that side and some potential here. White, for all of his efforts, hasn't got a lot of points. It's only when he starts to kill your stones that he takes control of the game. Okay, so white pushes this way. You use another knight's move here, which means that you will get separated, and white protects from the other side. And now you really need to play P13 to connect that stone back to these stones, so that you're connected through what we call a kosumi, a diagonal connection, like that. So what do? You change direction. I can't knock that move. I think it's a great territorial move. It's got a real eye on the prize. It's looking at this area of the board as a potential territory that goes all the way down there for black. So I can't knock that. And white starts to attack. Notice how white's now exploiting the vulnerability in shape between these tones that you left early, and the black answer here has got to be somewhere like this to make sure that you haven't got any cutting points. And I think this is where it starts to go badly wrong. White starts to set traps for you that you sadly don't have the experience yet to see. So you jump that way, white comes out, that's trapping the stones at C15 and C14. You turn and make one more. That's the third piece of music. Empty triangle right in there. Let's put a triangle so that we remember. It's an empty triangle shape. It's just not good shape. What should you do is the question. That move, do the jump, then if white presses, you just connect there. The empty triangle is just bad. Get rid of it. So here's the empty triangle. White harness again, threatening all of those stones. So see how the empty triangle just doesn't have enough liberties. The shape is over concentrated. That's why we don't like it. And now those three stones are in Atari, and black cuts, but white then cuts the other side. White just now wants all of your stones off the board. You try and protect, but white takes you, and now you get out that way. White connects, and actually you could probably salvage the system with a play like that to protect both cutting points, because you've got a cutting point here and there's a cutting point here, and you can't save all of them, but that's probably the move. And you play that. Again, I've got to say, great, Ed. That's absolutely on the money. You've protected the cutting points. There's still this cutting point here, but you've protected this. You've taken a local loss here, but you've protected the points in the corner here. White pushes out. You need to block that. That just lets white in. That's the blocking move is here. It does give white cutting points here and here. This one's particularly dangerous for you, but not fatal. But stepping aside just means white's just going to keep coming. And now white cuts, and you need to extend your stone on C9. Atari, white extends, and you've still got this stone is the weak stone that's about to die. And there it goes. And you descend, but white turns. White's in Atari, but white Atari's you first. You Atari on the outside, and just now white's just making mincemeat of black's position. And there it goes. So white's taken all of the points that were supposed to be your points on that side. It's just a devastating attack. I mean, I have to say we're almost close to a resigned game now, so I'm not going to labour this more, because it was the opening that I wanted to talk about. Black blocks and makes a wall, but the wall's not really facing anywhere, so we're just going to skip through the rest of the moves of the game, and I'll see if there's anything that... Now here, white is rapidly building a position, and what white's aiming to do with this attack is, it's unlikely that white can kill. In fact, this group has got one definite eye and two eyes. This black group can't be killed, but this white group, this black group here, is vulnerable to attack from these directions, and I think that's what happens in the game. So you come out, and yeah, then white starts the attack. Yeah. And all of your moves here is you're playing too close to strength. All of your stones, your black stones, are ending up jammed against the white wall, and leaving cutting points. Yeah. White will take, black forces, white connects, cut and take. Yeah, this is just horrible for black. And this is just inexperience. White turns, black comes out, and then white's coming out. So white's got all of the points on the right hand side, all of the points on this side, points in the lower left. Black has got still 10 points in this corner. So I'm just going to jump through the moves, because I would expect to see at the end of the game a black group here alive, a black group here alive, and a black group here alive in the centre, and possibly all of the black stones dead. So That happens next, so that's not changed the situation. This black group's still alive, this one's alive. I've got a fear that this one is going to die. Let's jump again, another 10 moves or so. 172, so that's 10 moves. So yes, this hasn't changed, although this black group is starting to look a bit vulnerable. This black group's alive, this black group's alive, and this whole black area is dead. 192, that fight's continuing, and the black stones here are dying. They're still alive, they're still alive, they're still alive. 202, yeah, this is a false eye because white has these 2 points known as the eye stealing Tetsuji, and so that one there is black's only eye, so the black stones are going to die. 202, 212, again black is alive in this corner, black's alive in the center, and black's alive in the lower corner, but everything else black is dead, and white has sealed off these stones here. And 222, the game doesn't change. Black's solid and alive here, black's alive here, this is dead, all these are dead, and black's alive in the corner. And black's made a little bit of progress here, a little bit of progress, but not much. Again, this group's alive, this group's alive, this group's alive, nothing has really changed. We're at 232 now, and I think that's the point at which the resign happens. Black, white, white, and then pass and pass, but it's a resigned game. Black has got a few points here, a few points in the corner, a few points there. There were no surprises in the latter part of the game, which is why I ran through it quite quickly. It was the opening that was interesting to me. I think you played some really good moves, you had some really solid sense of direction of play. We just need to focus in, because it's given me as your teacher a very good steer on where we need to focus attention to get you up from that 30 to 25Q up to 20Q, and that should happen pretty quickly in a month or so. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks folks, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked, please give me a thumbs up and a like, it really does help. And if you like the way I teach, then subscribe to the channel. There's more 10 minutes to go coming. Okay, thanks for now. Bye folks. Bye.